Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between Liquid Huck and TSL Alive here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. So Liquid Huck spawning as the blue Protoss player, meanwhile Alive spawning as the red Terran. So Terran versus Protoss here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. Hopefully this will be an interesting matchup. Liquid Huck, someone who I have casted in the past before, and one of the best well-known Canadian players currently in the foreigner scene in Korea. So perhaps one of the best players out there, right? Or some of the best foreigners out there. Meanwhile, Alive, TSL's Alive, I don't know too much about him. I don't even know too much about the team itself, so we'll see what level caliber this game should be. And these games were rated pretty high, so I am hoping that these games are in fact live up to their rating. So Liquid Huck now just chrono boosting, pretty much opening up with a standard build. I'm assuming there will be a 13 gateway followed by a 14 assimilator and then perhaps a 16 pylon followed by another cybernetics core. Meanwhile, Alive most likely will be getting up that 12 racks there. And then after getting that 12 racks, we'll see what he tries to decide and do. He does have enough room for a factory here, so he can complete a wall off. But already we see a probe coming out from Huck. Huck will not be able to do that much harassment onto that one particular SCV, as that a probe is a little bit late scouting after the gateway. Pretty standard timing on scouting, but if you really want to try to harass with that earlier probe, then you need to scout right after that pylon. So you're going to see that it's about, what, 15 seconds until it's completed, and a new fresh SCV coming over to try to get some damage onto Peppy the Probe. Peppy the Probe actually taking a couple of points of damage there before being forced to back off. He did see that there is a barracks here, but he wasn't able to look inside to see if there was a refinery. Pretty standard builds though. The SCV now will be able to come inside here, and now we see that there is that cybernetics core. The second pylon is hiding off to the north, and if Alive is a very cautious Terran player, which I believe he should be looking for that second pylon. He only saw one. He has to know that a second pylon is hidden somewhere. As a Marine trying to get some damage onto that one probe there, a reactor now being placed down. So we may get double Marines being trained. Double Marines, obviously, very strong against Immortals and also Void Rays, as they're able to attack ground and air. Not quite as useful against Zealots, but most of the time Protoss players do not go for an early Zealot, at least not at this stage in the game, as we are now going into a Stalker. So a Stalker with that Warp Gate research now, the Stalker being chrono boosted, and now trying to rally out. We also have that cybernetics core not being chrono boosted though, so I'm opting to go for a heavier economy. It doesn't look like he's going to do any aggressive push with a timing 4 gate, so I assume we should be getting a robotics core next coming in from Huck. Command center now being placed down, bunkers, double training Marines, and instead of doing a Reaper expansion, opting to go for a Reactor Marine expansion, something that I don't see all too often, but there are going to be a decent number of Marines, and now we are going into more gateways. So it is going to be a little bit of a delayed gateway, and now I am curious as to what exactly Huck is trying to do at this stage and time in the game. A Stalker will be trying to walk up that ramp in just a moment. There are going to be 5 Marines, more than enough to hold off this Stalker, as the Stalker doesn't have any friends to support just quite yet. 5 Marines now there. The 5 Marines going to turn around, start shooting at that Stalker. The Stalker now taking some critical damage, down to 32 hit points. And now running away, more Marines still being trained. A bunker may be placed down on the low ground, as we are going into a multiple racks play. So Terran infantry am going to be used. We already have that pylon here, so that warp gate research will complete in time, and this will be a 4 gate push. It is not your standard 4 gate push, as Liquid Huck is still getting a very strong economy going, still training up probes, but it is going to be a 4 gate style of push, and he will be able to warp in a lot of units here, perhaps try to put some pressure as these Marines now make their way south. And I'm going to look at the Stalkers and the Sentries over here. The Stalker and Sentry going to be forced to run away, as now more units are warping in, and now Huck may decide to try to get a little bit of an engagement. No, going to try to flank these units in the center of the map. 5 Marines going to get quickly destroyed by Sentries and Stalkers over here. This is not looking good, as those Stalkers are now trying to retreat. The Stalkers do have better range, but now a group of Marines coming in from the other side as well. So the Stalkers now trying to engage back and forth once again. Guardian Shield now coming up, and now this is going to be a split between 2 sides. There, 1 low hit point Stalker down to 17 hit points. The Sentry has been taken down. Both sides continuing to fight, losing 2 Stalkers. And now those Marines trying to chase against Huck's 1 Stalker, and down it goes. This is going to be a problem. This bunker needs to be completed, and it will be completed just in time So 35 seconds to build that bunker there. Now the Marines jumping inside. The SCVs are going to start to repair it. And now a lot of Stalkers on the low ground. More Marines need to be dumped into there. Perhaps some Marauders as well, as we are now getting Stim Pack and the concussive shells. Two Marines perhaps should leave in order to make room for a Marauder. Marauders have a significantly more range. 7 range instead of the 6 range, and now the Marauders are going to start battling it out. There's that force field, and that's the problem there, that the Stalkers were not slowed down nearly enough. The Marines are going to get destroyed here. More Marauders are coming out, trying to squeeze through. The Sentries do not have enough for a Guardian Shield. The force fields will fall. There you go. And now the Marauders are going to start battling it out. The SCVs are taking some damage. The Marauders continuing to fight back and forth. There are more Marines and more units coming in. SCVs now coming off the mineral line, as those Marauders are getting the slow concussive shell off, and I believe they could have taken down that last Stalker there, but actually did not. More Marauders coming in to reinforce. We have a factory now coming into play as the expansion of Huck now being warped in at the 6 o'clock location. Stalkers and SCVs now moving out as well. The Marauders do not have the Stim Pack research, so they are unable to catch up. SCVs, however, now taking some damage. The Marauders getting slowed down by their own SCVs as they were walking in the wrong direction. And the Stalkers look like they will be able to perhaps try to protect this pylon, as now more units, more Zealots, in fact, being warped in. So 4 Zealots now being warped in. Not really enough Marines to really fight back, as those Zealots and the Stalkers are going to continue to push in, and this is going to be a little bit difficult for Alive to stay alive at this stage. Zealots need to get in the front, absorb some of that damage. SCVs, and now more SCVs adding to this ball here, and the only reason why Alive can afford to do this is because he does have double command centers at this time. SCVs now going to absorb some of that damage. In comes one force field and multiple force fields. Multiple SCVs now getting taken down. Both sides battling it out. A lot of those Zealots are just getting focus fired and taken down. One Stalker barely able to escape, perhaps at 30 hit points. Oh, 20 hit points. 2 more shots would have taken it down. 1 armor for the win. Marauders and Marines continuing to perhaps move down. They are activating this Xel'Naga watchtower here, and now are going to see that this army is moving out. So this is going to be a very difficult timing as those SCVs running straight into the army. And what's going to happen? That is going to be a very difficult fight, as Alive does not have enough of an army. But now the Stalkers, the Marines and the Marauders are simply walking straight down and heading straight into this location here. The Stalkers and Sentries looking for a target, don't see anything, and there's not much by Huck. Huck does not have that much down at his natural base, and now the Marines and the Marauders do have Stim Packs, now simply walking up that ramp, going after those Stalkers here. Stalkers are going to get taken down. Probes coming off the mineral line. Both sides battling, and now going to take down some of those pylons. One pylon now down. Another pylon going to get shut down here as those Marauders going after key buildings. Now down goes one pylon, unable to warp in any additional units off of those 2 warp gates, and now running along this backside to get as much damage as possible. Those Marines are going to fall, but how much damage are they going to do first? Army-wise, 1,050 versus 1,275. Down goes that last Marauder, and the Stalkers, Sentries, and Zealots are on the wrong side of the map now, as that gateway is going to get repowered here. And now, these gateways over here on the north side, Zealots able to finish off an SCV who was really gung-ho in trying to take down this pylon. SCV was taken down, as now we are going to perhaps get a drop. I believe Liquid Huck, did he see that medevac? I do not believe so, as the medevac's going to simply drop into the back door location here and get some damage. There are a decent number of units here, as medevacs desperately need to be trained up very, very quickly. Also, Alive in trouble. He needs to start muling, but he's already down to 6 mineral patches in his main base. Simply Marauders and Marines already warping in, going to try to get some more damage. The pylons are going to get shut down here, so multiple pylons completely getting destroyed and canceled and unable to warp in any additional units. Stalkers and Sentries now in full retreat, trying to save what is left over here. The Marauders and Marines are engaging, going after those expensive Sentry units that have relatively low hit points, and the medevac going to be able to pick up some of those units and then drop once again on the high ground. No, the Sentries already in position. The medevac going to just hide over here as the expansion is now being taken. These SCVs need to get transferred to the other expansion here, as this one medevac really stuck between a Stalker and a Sentry, has nowhere to go, and will stay there for quite some time. The Marauder is able to finally take down this pylon here, and Huck, being caught in a constant state of movement with his army and unable to initiate fights, is now trying to regroup himself. But there is going to be perhaps a push from the front and the back at the same time. There is a robotics facility now coming online. I believe the medevac was shot down there, so down it goes. as this group now tries to move out once again. Marines and Marauders, there's only one medevac here, so that one medevac's not going to be able to deal all too much, as perhaps they're going to be able to shut down this pylon, and then perhaps even some of those gateways. One pylon will get taken down with relative ease. Down it goes, and now unpowering the rest of those buildings there, slowing down the production even further. Stalkers, Sentries, and Zealots are on the move once again. Stim pack now being used. The units will go back into full retreat. Income wise though, Alive with, wow, a lot of mules. 6 mules able to mine very, very effectively, getting a lot of income compared to the 53 harvesters. More SCVs still need to be trained if Alive wants to continue to stay in this game. Otherwise, Huck will just be able to take another expansion and out macro, as those mules are not permanent units. Production-wise, 3 more racks now being built. Multiple pylons have been cancelled or destroyed in multiple locations, just because Alive is now just aware that there are a lot of gateway units. But now, as Huck is transitioning into a robotics facility and getting a robotics bay, Colossus in the near future with the extended thermal lance range will be able to rip through this Marine and Marauder army. There is a reactor now on the starport, so that will definitely help out the medevac training, but there is not that much of an army currently sitting at the front door. The units are now starting to slowly move out. There are 2 pylons here, which will slow down the attack force. And now in comes the Marauders and the Marines. Those pylons will get shut down. There are Stalkers and Immortals currently being warped in here. And most likely Alive will just quickly take down those buildings, send 1 Marine across the divide behind the brush, and quickly get taken down. So the majority of that army already sitting there. More units still being added. Extended thermal lance range now being researched about 1/4 of the way through. More reactors being added as well. But Alive needs another expansion. Huck's still only running off of 2 bases as well, so he's not that far behind. Losses wise, Huck has actually lost more units. Army wise, 4,100 compared to 3,700 so far, and I do not see any upgrades at all for Alive. No engineering bay. And with no engineering bay, those Marines are still sitting at 1 or 0-0, and Marauders sitting at 0-0 are not going to stand very long, especially against upgraded Colossus, which does look to be in the near future. I don't know quite what that was, just a 1 Protoss unit quickly getting destroyed. The Marines and Marauders perhaps should try to take down this set of destructible rocks and move out. We are also going into a Twilight Council. Sentries, Colossus. The Sentries do have enough energy for a Guardian Shield. Vikings now finally being added, but there are not going to be enough Vikings in order to deal with the 2 to 3 Colossus. We are getting the Gravitic boosters as well, so I believe that's Observer upgrade, or is that Warp Prism upgrade? I never can really tell the difference. And okay, so that is the Observer upgrade. As now Marauders now trying to pull back once again. There are a decent number of medevacs. So 7 medevacs in the air, healing and keeping this army alive. Army-wise, 5,000 versus 4,700. So they are both battling up and macroing up for a very, very large push. Who will be able to win this war of attrition? There are a lot of production buildings coming in from Alive. 6 racks and 1 starport. And compared to the, what is that? How many gateways are there? 5 gateways and 1 robotics facility. So definitely Alive has the ability to rebuild his army a little bit more quickly, but needs to battle it out. This Nexus already currently being warped in, and now if this Nexus comes into play, Huck will definitely be able to replenish his army much more quickly. Marauders and Marines need a stim in order to get away. The Sentries and the Colossus are now going to make their way off to the north. There are more units still being added. There are 4 Vikings in the air, 6 Vikings eventually in just a moment, as more pylons being warped in by Huck. Huck looking to slowly warp in more units. Zealots now joining in on the fight, and they're going to simply run straight into the mineral line. No Zealot charge just quite yet, but it doesn't really matter, as those Zealots, actually, are they going to wait for charge? No, not going to wait for charge. They're going to simply walk in, get hit by some Punisher grenades, and quickly get destroyed. So not working out at all, losing a couple of those key buildings. 1 Marine now sitting over here trying to take down these destructible rocks, perhaps making an easier access as well. A Marauder now slowly making the trek out. They're going to try to take down multiple of these pylons. I believe that 1 probe is going to get taken down. Down it goes, and now going after the pylon, but the multiple Zealots will be warped in now. So those Zealots able to scare away this 1 Marauder. There are now a decent number of Vikings. 6 Vikings in the air, 3 rounds of attack, or no, well, 8 Vikings in the air, so I believe 2 rounds of attack now. in order to destroy a Colossus, as long as it's not within the Guardian Shield. We are now also getting High Templar, no Amulet research, but they were warped in early enough in order to get some Psystorm off. Multiple pylons will get shut down here. Huck losing a couple pylons, but it doesn't really matter. More units now being warped in. Zealot's going to finish off these destructible rocks. The Marine worked very hard, and now the Zealots and the Colossus are able to finish that off there. Income-wise, 700 versus 1400, and now Alive needs a press out at some point, otherwise he's gonna lose. He does have a larger army because he has been investing into it throughout the game, sitting at 8,050. His food cap is also higher, and his harvester count is lower, so he does have the larger army, but he does not have the better upgraded army. Sentries, Colossus, and Psystorm should be more than enough to handle mass infantry. Vikings are now in position, but there are Ghosts. Are the Ghosts going to be able to deal anything at all? Are the Ghosts going to be able to get some EMP Shockwave? That's going to be the key question. Oh, feedback onto the first Ghost. Zealot's now trying to fight back and forth. Marauders, where's that Psystorm? I don't see it. There it goes. The units are now trying to split, doing a great job splitting, and now multiple force fields coming into play. Huck with a smaller army right now, still battling it out, losing units, both sides losing units. The Vikings need to go into ground mode as soon as that last Colossus is down. It is now down. The Vikings are going to go into ground mode now, and now nicely done by Alive. Alive just continuing to push. That one High Templar does not have enough energy for a Psystorm, and now Marauders and Marines continue to battle it out. Vikings, there's that Psystorm. Those units should probably try to pull out of there, but no, the Vikings just continue to take a lot of damage. Colossus is standing tall. Once again, the Vikings need to jump back into that air mode as the Marauders and Marines are still getting destroyed. The Marauders do have a lot of hit points on them as the medevacs are still offering plenty of support. And now it is a 2,600 versus 1,350. The Vikings now trying to shoot and scoot to try to catch up to that Colossus. In comes another Psystorm, multiple Psystorm, and that's the reason why Blizzard wants to stop the Amulet research. Multiple Zealots now warping in as well. Units quickly coming in. I believe the Marauders are going to be able to turn around. More units coming back in to reinforce. The Zealots are going to get cleaned up. And Huck looking like he's going to lose this game. Another Psystorm coming in. Down it goes. More Zealots coming in. An Archon now trying to join in on the fight. The Archon, however, is not massive and will get slowed down by the Marauders as well, even though they won't take the full damage. In comes some more High Templars. High Templars now Psystorming back onto those units, and those units are going to be in trouble there. EMP Shockwave, no, EMP Shockwave, there it goes. Feedback just a second late as the Archon now is getting slowed. Down goes one Archon. Marauders now focusing on the Colossus. The Colossus now taken down as another Archon just giving chase once again. Medevacs still offering plenty of healing there as more High Templars are trying to get more damage. This one Ghost should be able to finish off that High Templar, and now there's the GG. So Alive able to take the game from Liquid Huck. A very intense battle. Alive running off of 2 bases and eventually deciding to finally lift off with his orbital command and then try to start mining out of this location. He was only running off of 2 bases and just focused up on macro. Huck, if he had actually gotten the level 2, or actually did get level 2 upgrades, just didn't get the level 3 upgrades. And if he had gotten the level 3 upgrades, I think the game would have been completely different. But the sheer size of Alive's army in that start of that push was critical. Also, Alive transforming his Vikings into ground mode the instant all the Colossi were taken care of helped out tremendously, as well as the Vikings added a significant amount of DPS to the ground and gave Alive a better fighting chance. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Alive and Huck here in the Xel'Naga Caverns.